We do not want the A-26, under any circumstances, as a replacement for anything. These are the words of General George Kenney, commander of the Far East Air Forces, damning words, if any, were ever uttered by a commander. His terse rebuke of the A-26 came after the 3rd Bomb Group's 13th Squadron, known as the Grim Reapers, received the first 4 A-26 for evaluation in July 1944. So what was so wrong with the Douglas A-26 Invader? Well, let's take a look why such a damning appraisal was warranted. Initially, with 650 caliber machine guns mounted in the nose, the top remote control dorsal locked in a forward position with another 2 50 cals and 8 more 50 caliber machine guns installed in underwing blister packs, the A-26 had a total complement of 16 forward firing guns. That's one hell of an attack plane in anyone's language. But the blister packs on the wings caused too much drag. So in the field they were removed to enhance airborne performance, halving the effective firepower. Less than satisfactory. Thankfully, the blister pack idea was abandoned early, and the guns mounted internally in the wings. At the same time, the 6 nose-mounted guns became 8, and the A-26 was back and better with 18 forward-firing, 50 caliber Browning machine guns. The A-26 was equipped with a remotely controlled dorsal turret and a ventral turret, both of which could be operated from gunner position within the fuselage via a periscopic sight. This was new technology for the time and prone to failure in the high humidity, wet tropical climate of the Far East Air Force's territory. And, as new technology, very few in the field had the knowledge to maintain such a system, so failures were common and difficult to rectify. Most A-26 locked the top turret forward and added the firepower to the pilot's trigger, so not a total waste after all. By far the worst design flaw of the A-26 were the placement of its twin Pratt & Whitney R2800 engines. Downward views from the cockpit were impossible, as the engines were so close to the fuselage that there was no room for the pilot to see the ground, which, as one might imagine, is probably the worst possible design for an aircraft that has ground attack as its primary role. Thankfully, clamshell doors were installed on the canopy, replacing the greenhouse cockpit. This increased the pilot's visibility significantly. But even so, with several failures at low-level group formation bombing, the A-26 was moved to medium-altitude missions and had much greater success and a lot less losses. So there we have it. The reasons why the A-26's introduction into World War II caused instant regret for the US Air Force, and I'm sure more than a few intense flutters in the stomachs of Douglas executives. Thankfully, the story of the Douglas A-26 Invader turned out pretty well. In fact, it would go on to be so popular that the Air Force kept it in service over 2 more conflicts, the Korean and Vietnam Wars, becoming the only U.S. Air Force aircraft to serve in all of these wars. Not bad for an aircraft that was initially so vehemently rejected.